Hey there, what's going on? Thanks for taking a second to check this out. This is something I'd been wanting to put together for a while. The All-Star break kind of presented the opportunity to think about it a little bit more and then um, execute those ideas that I had. Really quickly, I'm going to go over this. I'm going to try to be brief. This will act as both introduction and a brief tutorial on how to use the Ocean Research Console for NBA DFS. I've kind of designed this in the hopes that it can, at least for me, because I'll be using it, be a really a one-page stop for my DFS research. So to start off, we'll go up here, upper left-hand corner. I can choose my site. We'll go with FanDuel. I could choose my contest type here, cash game 150 entry GPP, limited entry GPP. I've kept it to these three options because that's really all I need to basically serve the purpose within this console. Cash games are your 50-50s and double ups. 150 entry GPP is your large multi-entry tournaments where 150 entries are used, and then your limited entry GPP is everything else, your single entry, 3 max, 20 max, etc. From there, I could choose my contest size. I have all sorts of options ranging from $500,000 for you nickel GPP players all the way down to 100. For our purposes, we'll stick here at the 25,000 range. When I picked the site, the optimal projected score for the optimal lineup based on these projections populates here. And then from there, and the contest type, the winning and cashing scores are calculated. This is basically all, without getting into the math details, based on standard deviations and distribution curve, probability curves, and all that sort of stuff. And then you'll also see that the no dupes max cumulative ownership and the same thing for average per player ownership populate here. And basically, again, without getting into the math, these are general guidelines as to what you want your per player and lineup ownership levels to be at, to not get a duplicated lineup based on this contest size and this contest type. This isn't, perfect, but it's a hell of a lot better than I've got leverage over the field because I played a couple lower owned guys. You hear a lot of people talk about leverage, but it usually, the thought process usually stops that I'm gaining leverage over 500 people in the field, and doesn't continue to the fact that despite that, I am still going to have a lineup duplicated by 20 people at the end of the night. We don't want that. That drastically diminishes your win equity. Anyways, so down here, the site that we chose will populate, and then we have your position, min and max salary, and then you can choose your game. Got all the different games there. And then team, all the different teams. If you do choose a game over here, only the two teams in that game will be in this spot here. And then we could choose our different stat group. Right now I have Dfs Metrics loaded in here. That's your stuff like your fantasy points per minute, ownership, projections, value rating, and then some of the other stuff. I'll drop a glossary in here that kind of goes over most of this. But I do have other options. You can look at the projected stats, which will be your main stat line, points, rebounds, assists, steals, blocks, projections, your per game stats, kind of the typical per game stats. And, you can sort these by the different stats. You want to know who's got the best field goal percentage, whatnot. We can do that. And then I have advanced stats as well, and you can choose the different categories there. So you've done your research, or you haven't, you can go up here and start building your lineup. You do not need to enter anything into these white boxes. There are formulas in here. You're better off not touching them. I've put locks on there. I don't know if those will apply when you download this, but if they don't, stay out of here. So you can select the player through these drop-down menus. All these players are organized and always will be organized by the cream metric from the Dfs Metrics, which is my value metric. I can get into why that is important in another video and why it's preferred, but for now, we can kind of show in practice how that works. So I'm building my lineup. I'm going to start selecting players from the top because these are the best values. They're the best projected players. They're more likely to get me closer to this score. And then from there, I can mess around with my ownerships and that. So we'll go with Brogdon, and then we can pick Fox. We'll go with that guy because we're from the future. Now, by the way, these are all Fridays. I built this over the weekend, so I used Friday's projections as my template. So, and I haven't built anything for Wednesday yet. So, because we're from the future, we'll use Gilgeous-Alexander. We can go. We already picked that one. Go our small forward. We can go Hart, staying in the mid range. One more time. We'll go Porter. And then we got 21,000 left, 7 per player. We could probably afford Giannis because I see Roby there. Go Roby there. Then we got the top 2 power forwards based on cream, and then 5-6 left. Noel 5-5. We got $100 left. And let's see how we did. So I have these calculated out here so we could see we built a lineup. Just getting off the top of these, projected for 325, right? So that's pretty good. We're within 6 points of the optimal. We have our ownership is a little higher than we'd want it to be. Actually, they're not a little higher; it's quite a bit higher, and that's resulted in for this contest size of I picked 250,000. I actually wanted to have 25,000, so you'll see this a lower. Okay, so this lineup is got a decent chance of being duplicated about 5 times. So we can get that a little lower. We could see that we have a cream score of 98.2. Let me go over something really quick with this, just because it'll kind of illustrate better how this value metric works for the players if I show how it works for the team. And then you'll see why it's so valuable and how we were able to, just from picking from the top here, get really close to this score. So if I divide this 325 into 331, this is what I'm going to get. And that's basically saying that this score is 98% of this score. So let's do that real quick right here so you can see. So we got 325 divided by that 331, and we get, let's see here, show it as a percentage. Let me, 98.19, 98.2. Okay, this is basically this times 100 to get that nice round number instead of the percentage. That's how this works for the players too, right? So this, in the same way that this 325 is 98% of the optimal score, this guy's projection of 36.7 is 99% of what the optimal score is for his salary, based on this 36.7 is 99% of what his ideal score is based on his salary and today's game. It moves around based on what the optimal is, but it's strongly based on his salary, and it's not just a 5x and for everybody or a 6x for everybody. It's dynamic. It changes. Giannis's expectation is not as high per dollar as this lower price guys, and so on and so forth. Anyways, then you have that value rating here, the crush rating, which is basically What is the likelihood of this a lineup with this score reaching this score as compared to the likelihood of the optimal at this score reaching that same score. So pretty close. Same thing with the cash rating. What is a lineup with this score's chances of reaching this score as compared to the optimal's chances of reaching this score? And then your chalk rating and your leverage rating is basically the chalk is more to do with how much you were duplicated, what is your ownership levels, and then leverage is based on that, but incorporating how close are we to this optimal score. So our ownership is good, and we've only lost a little bit of points off of the median, and so forth. So that being said, maybe I'm a little bit concerned about how many of these lineups have been duplicated. So I can go over here and I can say he looks like he is the highest projected owned guy. One other thing really quick, if I change these, the ownership's levels adjust accordingly. So anyways, we are on 150 entry cash game GPP. Svi Mihalik was our highest owned guy. So let's say we want to move away from him. I can pick him from the drop down menu here, and then I can choose over here. And I want to see players from the same position that are similar priced, lower owned pivots. Now I know I've got $100 to work with. I've got him up at the top here for easy comparison. And then I can check this out. Now I could switch to one of these guys, but I don't want to do that because I don't want to mess with my salary for this example. So I can see that Rodney Magruder is the first guy I can afford that's going to lower my ownership quite a bit. So I can come over here and I can select Rodney Magruder from the box there, and everything will recalculate. Okay, I lost a few more points on the lineup from the median, about 7 more points, but I gained a decent amount of ownership, and my duplications went from a little over 5 to closer to 1. So that's a definite improvement, and I might be able to get that a little bit lower. Maybe I see Roby's kind of high owned here, so I can choose Roby. Does the same thing for me. He's 4.6. It looks like Jay Crowder is the next guy up. I do have $300 to play with, so I could go to Tice. Let's see how that would do. He's projected to a little higher, even though he is not quite the value that Crowder is. So I can find Tice there, put him in. We stayed about the same as we were before, but now we're under 1. Low chance of getting duplicated with this lineup. We got 3 guys here under 10% owned. That's bringing that down quite a bit. We're under there. As you can see, my leverage rating went up. My chalk rating is looking good. This went down obviously a little bit because my score is lower. But I've got a good overall rated lineup. So anyways, that's this in a nutshell. There's a lot of cool stuff you can do here. You can look at, if you want to look at different positions, I've got stuff for each of the positions, and that populates different than this here. So if I wanted to go all, I can check out top ranked players, the highest owned, the highest projected, top leverage players most likely to crush, which is the player equivalent of reaching this winning score here. Most likely to exceed their salary-based value, which is the equivalent to this score, more or less. And then, of course, your different cream value tiers, And I could use all that to build my lineups. And even if you don't use this as your research, maybe you just want to use it to, plug your lineup in here and get a relative idea of what the projection of your lineup that you're building is. And this could be fairly useful. My projections aren't, the end all be all, nobody's are. But the one thing you should know about projections is that they're all very similar. If you look at the projected optimal score for 5 different DFS websites on any given day, they're all likely to be within the same range. I'm not the only person that had a projection in the range of 330 on Friday. Pretty much most of the sites were somewhere in this range. If you take their projected lineup and see what it would score based on my projections and vice versa, and you pretty much find that everybody's projected optimal lineup would score very well, and everybody else's model would probably be one of the top 5 or 10 lineups. And at that, they're basically all the same when you start considering things like standard deviations and all that sort of things and all that. But I don't want to get off on a tangent. I just wanted to introduce this, go over some of the features and different things you can do. I hope that you think this is cool. I think it's awesome. I'm going to be using it to hopefully do a little bit more. This duplication things is the thing I'm most excited about. I've kind of been screwing around with this in the background a bit, and it's I think a cool another leg up on something that everybody's kind of started to focus on. Everybody's started to focus more on leverage nowadays than in years past. And now, let's be the ones letting them get leverage over a good portion of the field, and being pissed off as to I finally finished in first and 15 different people have the same lineup as me. I don't want to be that guy. All right. Thanks again for checking this out. Thanks as always for your kind words in relation to all the sheets, and I hope you have a good and successful rest of the season. All right.